I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another live edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. There's a movie out right now in theaters that many of you probably just let it go right over your head and didn't pay any attention to it because it sounded pretty stupid, especially if you saw the trailer. But I suggest you go watch it. It's called Cocaine Bear. And it is about a bear that got addicted to cocaine. And in the movie, goes on a killing spree, basically. Although some of it didn't actually happen the way the movie claims it did. There was a bear that did get into cocaine. And that cocaine was brought by a skydiver by the name of Andrew Thornton. Andrew Thornton and I used to be acquaintances back in the day when we jumped out of airplanes together. He jumped out of an airplane full of cocaine coming out of Colombia and was going to, I guess, rip off the Colombian people, let the plane go crash, dumped all the cocaine out in duffel bags, and his parachute didn't work and he died. That's in the beginning of the movie as to where the cocaine came from. And there was a bear that did get into it, and I'll leave it at that. So I don't want to spoil the movie for you. But go see the movie if you get a chance. And after you've seen the movie, then Google it and look it up so you can see what actually was real and what wasn't. It's based on a true story, although it's partially a true story because there's a huge chunk of the movie, which is the funny part, that is not based on any reality whatsoever. Cocaine Bear, go check it out. Next out will be Rehab Bear, coming to a theater soon. All right, let's get right on into tonight's show. We talked about this recently. We've talked about this actually in several shows. So have other conservative news media personalities. And why it's still happening is just beyond me. The fact that it's happening to start with is pretty damn scary. Another Chinese police service station has been located in New York City, believed to serve as a base to spy on Americans and Chinese families living in America. And 2 Chinese police stations have been found in California. There's a growing call from the public in the United States as well as in Canada, because they found some in Canada and other places around the world, to stop Beijing from overseeing and influencing the activities that go on there. Canadian lawmakers have called on Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to hold a public inquiry into the alleged Chinese interference in the Canadians' election. It's the latest in a string of political figures to do so. Recent media reports aligned foreign interference needed throughout transparent, independent investigations. When Canadians learned about possible foreign interference through leaked documents, confidence in our democracy is put at risk. Why is the FBI and the Department of Justice not going full-fledged, shutting these people down and putting them in prison? How is this allowed to keep happening? So, how it came to the news media's attention, Fox is reporting on it right now. I think CNN actually did a little piece on it as well, and the Washington Post did a piece on it, is protesters standing outside of these Chinese police stations protesting. That's how the news media found out about it. So if the protesters are able to realize and find out that there's Chinese police stations set up in America, what is happening at the Department of Justice and the FBI? Why is this still going on? You know, and sadly, it's not just this. We're going to find out there's going to be horrible things happening in the coming months and years. I've got no doubt, because we've already caught a bunch of known terrorists coming across our southern border because they got no other way to get here. They're on no-fly list. We'd catch them as soon as they boarded the airplane or when they got off the airplane. The only way for them to get here is through the southern border. So how many have we not caught that have gotten through? So we're setting ourselves up for failure once again. The whole thing about history, if you don't remember it, you don't study it, you don't learn it, you don't pass it on to the next generation, you're bound to repeat it. And that's what we're doing right now with this current administration. And look, it's not just this current administration, because there were things that happened in the Trump administration that baffled the fuck out of me as a veteran law enforcement officer, as well as a military combat veteran, and my friends that I served with as well. And the same thing goes for the Obama administration and the Bush administration and the Carter administration, hell, even the Reagan administration. So it's not a Republican or Democrat thing, although right now what's happening on our southern border is 100% a Democrat problem, where they're just turning and looking the other way and literally lying to the American public, like our Homeland Security joke assistant did, by saying to Congress that the border is completely secure. Really? I mean, when we know over 2 million people illegally were apprehended just in last year. How in the hell is it secure? If 2 million got apprehended, how many got through? I mean, you know, it's shit like this that just makes me every day think to myself, what happened to our country? Because this is no longer the country that I served. No longer the country I took an oath to defend, that's for damn sure. According to a report by the Washington Post, it's out right now, FBI agents were hesitant to raid former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence back in August of last year. And these were the agents on the ground and the ones that were sent to do it. The report said that some FBI agents in the Washington field office wanted to close the classification materials investigation back in June of 2022, following an assurance from Trump's legal team that all documents that needed to be handed over to the National Archives and Records Administration were done so in January 2021. Of course, after the raid, all the documents that they got their hands on, Trump claims we didn't turn them over to you because didn't have to, they were declassified. And of course, we don't have the FBI, Department of Justice, throwing him in jail right now, saying they weren't declassified. So maybe Trump's got something there on them that, guess what? You made a fool out of yourselves. But regardless, the Republican administration, or the Republicans, the Republicans have been saying for quite some time, those in Congress, that the Biden administration has weaponized the FBI and the Department of Justice. Latest report, critics say, suggests the opposite is true, that Trump's attacks had chilled attempts to investigate him, even aimed evidence that Trump remained in possession of classified documents at his Florida home, said senior FBI officials. Feared raiding the property would be seen as too aggressive a move, and instead wanted to ask Trump permission to search the property, per the newspaper's report. Kind of like they did with Biden, with both his homes, his office at the Penn Center, and the other office they raided of his that was part of the Democrat National committee office or whatever it was called. They asked him for permission. Why didn't they ask Donald Trump for permission? Why not just say, okay, we understand that you turn them all over and that's fine. Could we please go in there and look for ourselves? You can have your attorneys present. Hell, you can be present. But we would like to do that. Extend him the same courtesy you extended Joe Biden. Is there something wrong with that? And if he said no, get the hell out of here, then go for your search warrant. But that's not what they did, as we all know. Stephen M. D'Antero, then the head of the FBI's Washington field office, is said to have expressed concern about the optics of agents with the FBI markings on their jacket raiding a former president's home. Post added that some of the FBI agents were very wary about conducting a raid on Mar-a-Lago, and they were simply afraid of what the fallout was going to be and what that was going to mean for the FBI. One official reportedly described it as the hangover of Crossfire Hurricane, a reference to the FBI's investigation and to the dismissed allegations that the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the 2016 election. For years, Trump has accused investigators and probes into him as political motivated witch hunts. Former president has also suggested the classified document search in his home is a sign that the Biden administration has weaponized the federal government. When asked about the latest revelations at a Senate hearing yesterday, Attorney General Merrick Garland, that useless piece of shit, said he could not comment specifically on the classified material investigation, but added there's often a robust discussion and it's encouraging among investigators and prosecutors. So the FBI agents that were sent to go there went to their supervisors and timeout. Hold on. Why are we going from 0 to 1,000 when we got all this other stuff in between there? Let's just go ask. And they said no. Do you realize how bad this is going to look to the American people? They said, we don't care. So they did it. And of course, we still have no clue if it was classified or declassified. And Trump is running for president again. That's surely got to shake up those in the FBI and Department of Justice. Because if he gets in there again, well, their shit's already weak. So this is going to make it look even worse. Congressional investigator, Representative Darrell Isis, has called on whistleblowers to come, to come forward following the arrest of Gal Luft. Gal is the co-director of the Institute for Analysts of Global Security. Luft was arrested in Cyprus on an Interpol warrant, but claims it's political revenge. Why? Because he provided our FBI with incriminating information about Joe Biden's ties to his family's business with a Chinese energy company ahead of the 2020 election. Bam. According to the Israel International Criminal and Civil Rights lawyer, Madhichi Tzivin, who is representing Luft, his client has information that would bury Hunter Biden and his father. Shift attention towards the president himself, indeed. More info is coming to light regarding Hunter Biden's laptop. Representative Isis urging whistleblowers with information that would advance congressional investigations into the Biden family business scheme and Department of Justice malfeasance to come forward. He stated one never knows where whistleblowers concerning individuals and the critical information they will provide will be found next. But we must always be ready, especially as we uncover more and more Biden family corruption, to receive evidence that advances the cause of accountability and oversight. The congressman has displayed eagerness to investigate election interference with regards to the suppression of information of Biden's family business entanglements, sending notices last March to 12 individuals involved in censorship of the New York Post reporting on the Biden laptop from hell. And of course, we already know, nothing new. We've already found out. We've seen the fucking emails. We've seen the whistleblowers testify in front of Congress now that the FBI, and from the Twitter files that were released, the FBI was actively involved going to social media. And in some cases, like with Twitter, paid them hundreds of thousands of dollars to squash that story about the laptop. And that it was fake news, Russia propaganda, when they knew damn good and well it wasn't. They had the laptop in their possession. The House Oversight Committee is aware of Lifton's allegations, will be making contact with his lawyer soon. The committee spokesman said Oversight Committee staff are aware of the allegations and will be in touch with that attorney immediately. Kathy Chung, President Biden's former primary gatekeeper, has agreed to potentially comply with the House Oversight Committee's probe into the classified document scandal and the Biden's family international business schemes. Chung's lawyer, Bill Taylor, told CNN she will hand over some requested documents and sit for interview with the committee. This is something that the Bidens do not want to have happen. So they might hook up with their friends, the Clintons, and convince her otherwise. Hunter Biden's top financial lieutenant, Eric Schwartz, is also expected to soon provide documents to the Oversight Committee investigation of the Biden family. The arrest of Gottlieb and the claims made by his lawyer have caused a stir in the political world as Representative Isis and others urge whistleblowers to come forward with evidence of the Biden family corruption. With Kathy Chung and Eric Schwartz also providing documents to the Oversight Committee, it is clear that the investigation to the Biden family business schemes is far from over. In fact, it's just got started. Because also all of Hunter Biden's business partners that were involved in all this bullshit going on in Ukraine and China have come forward and said that Joe Biden was completely aware of it. And Joe Biden is on record saying many times, I knew nothing about what my son was doing with these people. Yet the laptop showed otherwise. It showed emails that he knew what was going on, and he was on the take for money. He was, quote, the big guy in these email chains, according to the whistleblowers that were Hunter Biden's associates. And there's photographs of all these people he claims he didn't know anything about actually meeting with them. It was a pay-for-play thing, period. It's illegal. What will come of it? Probably not a damn thing. But once again, we have corrupt politicians and we have corrupt leadership in places like the FBI and Department of Justice. And we, the people, are sitting back looking at it going, why? Why is this happening? It's absolutely a shame what is happening to the United States of America right now. It really is pathetic. Continuing on, Joe Biden said in a speech yesterday that he is going to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines come hell or high water. That was his exact words. Biden made the comments at the House Democrat Caucus issue conference in Baltimore, Maryland last night. I know it may make some of you uncomfortable, but that little state above me, Delaware, is one of them, has the highest rate, one of the highest rates of gun ownership. But guess what? We're going to ban assault weapons, again, come hell or high water, and high-capacity magazines. When we did that the last time, it reduced mass deaths, Biden said. Now, according to the FBI data and the Department of Justice data, that's another Biden lie, that it did not do anything to stop mass shootings. Biden's comments come after 3 students were recently killed back in February 13th at Michigan State University. The suspected gunman, Anthony McRae, later killed himself before police could arrest him. It comes one day after the shooting at Michigan State University and 5 years after a gunman killed 14 students at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The Biden administration announced that the Justice Department will give $231 million to states to be used for crisis intervention. The money can also be used for efforts to strengthen red flag programs and efforts to prevent gun violence. Now, let me stop right there for a second. If you're unfamiliar what red flag laws are, either Google it or better yet, go to douglasducote.com and look at the interview I gave with a radio station up in Tennessee of the red flag laws. And you will find out exactly how this affects those that it shouldn't. I'll leave it at that. These awards will support the kinds of crisis intervention programs that we know save lives and help protect children, families, and communities across the country from senseless act of gun violence, Attorney General Merrick Garland said. Biden said that the funding can be used to educate members of the public regarding extreme risk protection orders. Red flag laws, however, only save lives if community members effectively use the tool. What a freaking joke that statement is. Today's announcements give states funding to educate the public about extreme risk protection orders and train law enforcement and other officials regarding this intervention, Biden said. Okay, listen up. I know this is shocking, Joe, but these people that are using guns to kill other people that's not in self-defense already know that that's not allowed. So putting up billboard signs or whatever the fuck you think they should do with this money is just as insane as you are. Once again, there are zero, none dangerous guns. There's only dangerous people. And that's a fact. Till we focus on the real problem, which is a mental health crisis in America, this shit's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. If you can magically wave a wand tonight and make all AR-15s and AK-47s and high-capacity magazines just vanish off the face of the earth, guess what? Crazy people are still going to do crazy shit and kill people, innocent people. They use their car to do it. They use their knives to do it. They use airplanes to do it. Oh, that's a freaking big one, right? Remember 9/11? I mean, that's how nuts the left is. They believe that if you take something away, you can fix the problem when the thing you're taking away isn't what the problem is. It's not the gun. It's the person using it. For the love of all things holy. Anyhow, this next story is pretty damn interesting. And again, it's dealing with the FBI and what they've recently done that is just stupid. It's irresponsible. And it's unbecoming of a law enforcement agency. The FBI created a threat tag, the hashtags, following the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade last year at the federal level, kicking it back to the state level where it belonged. But it later shifted to focus on pro-life individuals. An agent turned whistleblower told the House Select Committee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government, FBI Special Agent Garrett O'Boyd from the Wichita Resident Agency and the Kansas City Field Office also said the FBI made him divide one domestic terrorist case into 4 different cases, in which he described as an effort by the Bureau to be able to show Congress an influx of domestic terrorism cases. Fox News exclusively reviewed portions of the transcript of O'Boyd's February 10th interview with the panel. As for pro-life assignment, O'Boyd said the FBI created threat tag, hashtag threats to SCOTUS, which is the Supreme Court of the United States, SCOTUS. So threats to SCOTUS 2022. After the High Court's decision on Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, which overturned the 1973 landmark Roe versus Wade case, returned the issue of abortion to the states. After the ruling, O'Boyd said he felt the use of the threat tag was legitimate because threatening a Supreme Court official is a violation of federal crime, but it depends on who reads that tag and how they interpret it. The FBI has used such tags to monitor similar cases on a large scope, but O'Boyd said the tag shifted and began focusing on pro-life people. When this threat tag came out, it was like, why are you focusing on pro-life people? He told the panel, according to a transcript reviewed by Fox News Digital and shared with the public. It's pro-choice people who are the ones protesting or otherwise threatening violence in front of the Supreme Court justices' houses, the FBI agent said. O'Boyd said the FBI wanted agents to look into what the Bureau called pregnancy centers. O'Boyd said he was confused as to why agents would need to talk to these people about threats. If someone is going to get threatened, it would be them, because people thought that abortion was suddenly outlawed, which that wasn't the case. It was just remain back to the states, he said, adding that the assignment struck me as odd at the time. O'Boyd said he later was given a request for collection and was instructed to ask his confidential human sources, who he said were pro-life, a bunch of questions about the threats to the Supreme Court. So the FBI is supposedly not aware of who the people are that are protesting, and the cameras are showing it to us live on TV? That wasn't pro-life people, you fucking idiots. And even when I got that, I was like, why would this person know about those threats? He's pro-life, O'Boyd continued. Like he's not the one going and threatening Supreme Court justices. When asked if he felt the FBI was using and creating threat tags as a politicized weapon, O'Boyd said, I do. Meanwhile, with regard to the domestic terrorism case, O'Boyd said the division of one case they wanted to break up into multiple separate cases would give the FBI the opportunity to go to Congress and say, look at all these domestic terrorism cases we're investigating. That's fucked up. Where really I was working on just one case, he said. But the FBI can then say, well, he actually had 4, and so we need you to give us more money because look at how big of a threat all this domestic terrorism is. This is an FBI whistleblower, an FBI agent. O'Boyd claimed the FBI retaliated against him, go figure, for making protected disclosures to Congress. When O'Boyd was suspended, he claimed the FBI prevented him from even retrieving his personal belongings that were in storage from a company connected by the FBI in Virginia. O'Boyd estimated that he spent approximately $10,000 in lawyer's fees to retrieve his personal belongings from the FBI. O'Boyd told the panel he felt the FBI was being weaponized against agents or anyone who wanted to step forward and talk about malfeasance inside the agency prior to this. The FBI told Fox News Digital the Bureau's focus has been and remains on violence and threats of violence, and we will vigorously pursue investigations of any threat or use of violence committed by someone who uses extreme views to justify their actions, regardless of motivation of what side of an issue that person is on, the FBI responded in the statement said. We do not conduct investigations based on a personal, political, or social views. Although we, the people, have watched what you're doing. We're right here. It's like when you're talking about one of your friends that you think's an idiot to other friends, and they're standing right next to you going, I'm right here. I hear you. We've watched what the Department of Justice and FBI is doing. It's all over the fucking news. It's on C-SPAN, for crying out loud. We see the corruption that's taking place. So you can spin this any way you want. You can put out all these talking points over and over and over again. We, the people that pay your fucking salary, know that you're now a corrupt agency. And it's not the men and women that are out there doing the job. We already know from what I just read to you. They're going, time the fuck out here. What are we doing? It's the leadership of the FBI and the leadership of the Department of Justice that need to be removed. And they will be one day. They will be. The day's going to come when Republicans will have the Senate and 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue again with the House. And the House has just gotten started on the exposure they're about to do and are doing right now with the FBI and Department of Justice. The FBI said it had no comment on the particular threat tags, but wished to remind the public what they're used for. A tag is merely a tool to track information, reviewing, and reporting, the FBI continued. The creation of a threat tag in no way changes the long-standing requirements for opening an investigation, nor does it represent a shift in how the FBI prioritizes threats. The FBI said it had used tags to track everything from drug trafficking to human trafficking. Assertion the FBI manipulates statistics on domestic terrorism cases is categorically false, it continued. The FBI's authority to investigate a case as domestic terrorism requires the existence of a potential federal criminal violation and the unlawful use or threat of force or violence to further political or social objectives. The FBI then went on and added, we follow the facts of each case. We will never open an investigation based solely on First Amendment protected activity. The FBI also said it is not and will not retaliate against individuals who make protected whistleblower disclosures. Again, we the people know better because we're watching this shit. It's on our phones. It's on our computers. It's on our iPads. It's on our fucking TV. It's in the newspaper. We see what you're doing. So how can you stand there and say that you're not doing it? Just admit that you're fucked up and we're going to fix it. But no, they can't do that, can they? The whistleblower interview came aimed at investigations led by the subcommittee into alleged misconduct of domestic violence extremists, resources for political purposes. Representative Jim Jordan, the panel's chairman, wrote a letter to the FBI last month after a leaked internal memo revealed the FBI had efforts underway to identify and threat those of the Catholic faith as violent extremists. Because why? The Catholics say it's a sin to do abortion. Well, some of them do. Joe Biden's Catholic and he doesn't believe that. And Nancy Pelosi's a Catholic and she doesn't believe that. Oh my goodness. You know, there are some things in life that you just don't try and think too hard about it because blood will start shooting out of your nose and your eyes and your ears and your mouth. Your blood pressure will be so high that it will endanger your life. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre slammed Republicans yesterday on declaring that President Biden's economy works for everyone and leaves no one behind. I swear, this is like doing a Saturday Night Live skit. How can you say shit like that with a straight face? Again, they think we all have our heads buried in the sand. Well, that's the far left liberals and many of the Democrats that do. Republicans and conservatives are watching this shit. We know what's happening to our country. She said this on MSNBC's The Beat with Ali Melber. Jean-Pierre hit conservative politicians for wanting to negotiate lifting the debt ceiling and declared, "We should not put the faith and credit of our country hostage. That's not something we should be doing. If they want to have a conversation on how to lower the deficit, which is what this president has done for the first 2 years by 1.7 trillion. If they want to have a conversation, we're open to it," she said. But by saying that you want to cut Social Security, by saying you want to cut Medicare, by holding those two things hostage because you want to basically give $3 trillion to the wealthy, the uber wealthy, that's what you want to do. Give tax relief to the uber wealthy. That's not what this president is about. Jean-Pierre went on to make a series of claims about Biden's agenda and his upcoming budget. He's about fighting for Americans that have been left behind. He's about growing the economy from the bottom up, middle out. And that's what you're going to see, she said. Well, we haven't seen it yet, I assure you, madam. The president is going to put out his budget on March 9th. It's going to be transparent. It's going to look like the president's priorities. Talk tough, though. And he's asking House Republicans to do the same. Melber then asked Jean-Pierre if she had any response to Donald Trump appearing to agree with Joe Biden on Social Security. It doesn't happen that often in the news, Jean-Pierre responded. It doesn't happen very often. Look, I'll say this. Ari, the president is going to fight. Americans need to know that the president is going to continue to fight for Social Security. He's going to continue to fight for Medicare. He's going to make sure this is an economy that works for everyone and leaves no one behind. Jean-Pierre claims about how the Biden economy works for everyone appears to be rejected by the voters themselves, because the far left news agency, ABC News and the Washington Post, put out a poll to the American people and asked them just that. 41% of Americans say they are worse off under the Biden presidency. Only 16% say they are better off. Those would be the fucking millionaires. The press secretary echoed Biden when he drew jeers and boos at the State of the Union for his claims about Republican plans for Social Security and Medicare that have been fact-checked and debunked already. The idea that Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset appears to have been based on a legislative agenda released by Senator Rick Scott, Republican Florida, in 2022, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago right here on this show. Scott proposed that all federal legislation sunset in 5 years. If a law is worth keeping, Congress can pass it again, he said, after clarifying this would not apply to anything dealing with Social Security or Medicare. Basically, what he said, and I will repeat it again, all these, do you know where your money's going? Do you know where Congress is spending your money? Do you know about all these socialist programs and non-socialist programs? There's hundreds of thousands of them out there. What he was saying was, every 5 years, let's take a look at all these programs and determine if the money's being used the way it was allotted for. And if it's not, or it's no longer, something that will affect the people the way it was supposed to, then get rid of it. He wasn't talking about Social Security and Medicare. He never even mentioned that. But you wouldn't know that listening to them, would you? So what are our facts here? What are they? Here they are. The American people are not better off today than they were under Donald Trump. Trump's economy issues were not his doings. They were the doings of COVID and following the advice of Dr. Anthony Fauci. Period. That's what happened to our economy. Before those two things happened, America was on a roll for everyone to have a better future. You know that. The Republicans do not want to take away Social Security and Medicare. So every time you hear a Democrat or liberal say that, just picture their nose growing out like fucking Pinocchio, because it's not true. They got nothing else to run on. Nothing else to run on. So they're just spinning this lie. Republicans are not about making the filthy rich richer. They are about an America that was built by our forefathers. Work hard and reap the benefits. Don't be a lazy bum. Stay in school. More education means a better life. Learn history, because if you don't, you're bound to repeat it. As those of us conservative news media outlets expose the truth about what is going on in our school system, with far left liberal indoctrinating of our kids into their crazy ideology, finally parents are taking notice and taking action. They're speaking up at school board meetings. The FBI is saying they're domestic terrorists for doing so. They're not standing down. They're confronting these school boards. In this case, they're taking a step further. A Seattle school district is being forced to lay off employees because of financial turmoil that was caused by plummeting student enrollments. Seattle Public School announced this past Tuesday that some staff members have been notified they may lose their job to address the budget deficit. This week, we've issued some notifications to employees that they're being laid off, said Dr. Brent Jones, who is a superintendent at a school board meeting. We're in that phase right now, Jones added. The board noted that the deficit is at a tipping point, noting that its structurally deficit has grown to $131 million. They also cited an expiring of the one-time state and federal resource from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund and funding of transportation without riders. On top of the advisor circumstances, the board added that students need to increase and the labor costs are significantly more than state and local funding. Jones outlined the district's strategy to fiscal responsibility that included a multitude of objectives, including aggressively pursuing new or expanded revenue opportunities. The starkest issue is the downward trend of enrollment in the district. According to the board, enrollment dropped since fiscal year starting in 2013, while staff increased to address the needs of students. Some of the board expressed concern about how the cuts to labor will impact student outcomes. So some of these cuts, or rather pragmatic changes, could be very well have little to no impact on student outcomes. District 7 School Board Director Brandon K. Hersey said. Hersey suggested putting expectations and parameters on a baseline level of services that the district can provide in order to guarantee a streamlined, equitable approach. Yet not a single board member feels this has anything to do with far left liberal ideology being allowed within their school system, and they're in complete denial of it. The number of homeschooled students in Washington state has nearly doubled since 2019. For data found by the Center for Reinnovating Public Education, a research organization at Arizona State University's Mary Lou Fulton Teachers College, the Seattle Public School District enrollment has been on a steady decline over the past few years. Research shows from 2019 to 2021, private school enrollments increased by 10% per average on year. Enrollment in homeschool increased by 27% per year on average, and enrollment in charter schools increased by 28% per year on average, according to the report. So, let's look at this. And I'm going to lay it out as simple as I possibly can for any liberal or Democrat that's watching this program. There's no way to make it. The only way I can make it simpler than what I'm about to say is if I read it really slow for you so that it enters the fucking brain cells that you don't have or that are dying off or whatever the hell's happening up here because you're not getting it. So this is how simple this is. The parents do not want the school system involved in their children's sexuality. The parents don't want boys pretending to be girls using the girls' bathroom and locker rooms and vice versa, because that leads to sexual assaults. The parents don't want porn and drag queen shows in the school's libraries. The parents don't want their children to be taught America is no better than any other country. The parents don't want their children to be taught that police hate all black people. The parents don't want the children to be taught that white people are bad, that the American flag stands for racism, and that only poor, undereducated degenerates join the military. Maybe, possibly. If you remove the far left liberal ideology from your school system completely, your enrollments would return. And that is a fact that you can take to the bank because the parents have had enough of what you're doing to their kids. And I applaud them for standing up and saying no. You go to the school board, you go to the parent-teacher conferences, you get actively involved in your kid's school, you pay attention to what they're being taught, and you address that shit at the school board level. And if the school board doesn't change it, get your kid out of there and homeschool them, put them in a charter school, put them in a private school, do whatever it takes to save your kid from the liberal ideology that is spreading across this nation. That is destroying America. And that falls on the shoulders of all political parties, because we allowed the far left liberals to not only infiltrate our school system and affect our kids from kindergarten all the way up through college, but they've infiltrated our military, they've infiltrated our government, they're every fucking where. It's like a virus. And that's one of the biggest problems we face today. Think what's going to happen in 20, 30 years from now. This place For those of you that are my age, I'll be 61 soon. Wow. For those of you around my age, you already don't recognize this place. You don't recognize our government anymore and what they're doing. Can you imagine if this train wreck continues, what this place will look like in 20 or 30 years from now? Because the whole purpose of this is indoctrinating these kids to use their ideology, and then they grow up and become voters and rule the world. They become the next doctors and lawyers and scientists and judges and police officers and members of Congress and or a president. And they fuck up our country worse than it already is. Anyhow, you had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel. Also, go check out my other YouTube channel, Charlie Hotel 47, and DouglasDucote.com. In the description of this show and all my videos and shows, you'll be able to see where you can follow me on other social media platforms. Please share it with your friends and family. Let them know about the show so we can continue to increase the viewership and get the word out there. Anything breaks between now and next Tuesday, I'll be sure to do a video about it or come on live and talk about it. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful and blessed night. And whatever you're doing this upcoming weekend, please be safe, enjoy yourself, and just have a good time. Try and spend it with friends and family if you can. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each of you. Good night, everyone. Thank you for being here.